Getting into playing Warhammer 40,000 can be a daunting experience. The rulebooks are hundreds of pages long. Then you normally need a specific army codex to figure out all the rules for your specific army. Then you will need to buy some rather pricey miniatures, some terrain, accessories, thousands of dice, and have people to play with. Well, this year, Games Workshop released the 10th edition of the 40k tabletop games, and it's now probably easier than ever to get into. So while this isn't really a step-by-step tutorial on how exactly you play the game, there are already tons of those out there. I personally recommend the ones by Play on Tabletop. This video will hopefully still give you an idea on how to get into the game, what you'll need to know, and how the 10th edition is not only different, but better. Let's get into it. The latest edition of Warhammer 40,000 has made its definitive entrance. With the rules and launch box already having been in circulation for a while now, and the arrival of all the new starter sets, it's quite an exciting time for enthusiasts. The Ultimate Starter Set is particularly worth mentioning, standing out as Games Workshop's most stellar game in a box release in recent memory. While the Leviathan launch box has its merits, particularly in terms of exquisite miniature collections and a deluxe rulebook, it's the underlying rules that captivate our attention. These rules, available in various formats like free PDFs and app versions, raise the pivotal question: does the 10th edition live up to all the hype? Warhammer's 10th edition retains its foundational essence. Players will still find themselves engrossed in the familiar ebbs and flows of taking turns, maneuvering, attacking, and tactically deploying their armies, all while rolling their trusted D6 dice. This edition's guiding principle, simplified yet not simplistic, translates into a redefined gameplay experience, characterized by an intuitive understanding and fluidity in play. An examination of any unit's datasheet reveals noticeable modifications. A novel objective control metric stands out, primarily serving to clarify dominion over contested objectives. The leadership metric has undergone an overhaul, now necessitating players to roll above a specific value, ensuring consistency with other stats. A significant shift involves transitioning attack stats, including weapon skill, ballistic skill, and strength, directly into weapon profiles reminiscent of the Age of Sigmar approach. At first glance, the changes might appear minor or purely cosmetic, but they perfectly exemplify how the 10th edition strives to eliminate superfluous intricacies. Weapon profiles have been purged of standalone special rules. By integrating the hit probability into the weapon profile and incorporating universally applicable special rules through keywords, various weapon distinctions have been seamlessly merged. This streamlined approach not only enhances memory recall, but also simplifies the communication between players. Breaking away from the 9th edition, it's noteworthy that almost every unit, including the most basic infantry, boasts a minimum of one special rule, albeit seldom exceeding 2 or 3. While this may seem contradictory to the overarching theme of simplification that I've praised, it's vital to recognise that not all complexity is detrimental. A certain degree of depth and distinctiveness is really important. Each unit's unique rules not only tell you its specific function within your army, but also lucidly illustrate it. For instance, standard infantry units are likely to possess a rule bolstering their efficiency in capturing or defending objectives, underscoring their strategic significance amidst more flamboyant units. The presence of these distinct rules directly on the datasheets is a definitive advantage. 9th edition was also criticised for its intricate army regulations. While a particular unit might have been devoid of any datasheet specific rules, the army as a whole was governed by multiple layers of stratagems, relics, psychic abilities, warlord traits, and more. A quick glance at my Codex Space Marines reveals an expanse of over 20 pages dedicated solely to army rules. Even though I'm yet to lay my hands on a 10th edition codex for an exact comparison, the existing army rules in each index span 5 sections of the index cards, which is equivalent to approximately 2 pages in a conventional book format. However, this doesn't imply that these rules have been eradicated. They've been reorganized. For instance, psychic powers have now transitioned into either attacks, which possess weapon profiles similar to other weapons, or they are down as special abilities on the datasheets. The game has also eliminated a distinct psychic phase. This rule that previously allowed Space Marines to rapidly fire their bolters is now addressed via keywords embedded into the weapon's profile. The essence of the game is now comprised of army rules, detachment regulations, stratagems, and augmentations. Army rules are shaped by your specific faction. This typically represents the unique flavour or essence of each faction, such as the Eldari's proficiency in weaving the strands of fate or the Adeptus Sororitas command over miracles. The detachment you choose characterises the essence of your army. This gives you an overarching army detachment rule, 6 strategic actions, and 4 unique skills you can assign to your characters. Currently, each faction has just one detachment that represents the most common type of force they deploy. The notable exceptions are unique Space Marine chapters like Space Wolves and Black Templars, which have distinct detachments. It's worth noting that GW has announced the introduction of more detachments in coming codec releases. Examples include the Tyranids having options such as a detachment emphasizing towering monsters or one highlighting the power of vast hordes of smaller beings. Points allocation for units has been made much simpler, as each unit now comes with a set cost and specified sizes. Altering your troops' equipment doesn't change their point value, encouraging players to equip the most optimal gear. This change might be the most debated among the updates, largely because many enthusiasts take pleasure in intricate list building, and this simplification reduces this aspect considerably. It might also pose issues for those who have units with unconventional sizes. Previously, you could field with 5 to 10 troops, paying an additional cost for each troop beyond the initial 5. Now it's either the cost for a set of 5 or a set of 10. However, these sizes mirror the number of models GW packages together. They've also adjusted based on feedback, allowing Plague Marines, for instance, to form squads of 7, as this was an exception. In action, these modifications lead to a game that operates more seamlessly. The use of command points used for stratagems has been significantly reduced. Players begin with none and only earn one at the commencement of each player's round. Though some abilities can provide additional points, it's restricted to 1 extra per turn. Now there are 11 universal stratagems accessible to all players, and your detachment offers an additional 6. This is a more manageable system compared to the numerous distinct stratagems that every army possessed in the 9th edition. The universal stratagems mainly address common actions, such as utilising a command point for a reroll or targeting an advancing unit. After just a few matches, these became instinctive. Many of these stratagems can also be activated during an opponent's turn, creating a more interactive gameplay. Gone are the days of taking a quick break during your opponent's movement phase. Now there is a new 10th edition format known as Combat Patrol. This format is essentially a ready-to-play setup utilising the existing Combat Patrol starter kits that GW have released. While it incorporates the core rules, each Combat Patrol is equipped with its own datasheets and army regulations, adjusted to ensure balance when pitted against one another. This is quite an accomplishment considering these kits weren't intended to function as full-fledged armies, but merely as cost-effective entry points for budding collectors. Furthermore, Combat Patrol introduces mission sets tailored for play on 2 of Games Workshop's standard battle mats. The result? A swift, thrilling and intense game that players can finish in less than an hour once they're familiar with the foundational rules. Combat Patrol serves as an excellent introduction to 40k. It simplifies the learning curve while maintaining the complete rule set, and it significantly shortens the gap between initiating a new army and being able to engage in a comprehensive game. Warhammer 40k 10th edition is not without its flaws. Shortly after its release, balance discrepancies among various factions were evident, leading to distinct advantages and disadvantages. Factions such as Death Guard, Adeptus Mechanicus, Tau, and Astra Militarum find themselves in a challenging position, whether it's due to overpriced units, missing range aspects, like Death Guard's notable lack of anti-tank capabilities, or simply not packing enough punch. Conversely, Adeptus Custodes, Imperial Knights, and Eldari are flourishing, especially the Eldari, boasting a broad spectrum of robust units comprehended by an exceptional potent army rule. That said, these imbalances are correctable. Games Workshop has already issued a points revision, which is promising. The key takeaway is that the game, at its core, presents a sturdy base, and in this regard the 10th edition has made a commendable debut. It's essential to remember that until the codexes are rolled out, we're only seeing a part of the whole picture. These codexes could very well determine the game's trajectory. If they introduce a broader range of detachment options for each faction, along with modifications and new unit additions, they're bound to be well received. However, if we witness the sort of power escalation that marked the 9th edition, it might seem like we're treading familiar ground. On the whole, 10th E has made a positive impression on me. From a game which, I will be honest, I kind of struggled with, 40k is genuinely becoming a game I'm quite passionate about. I've always been super into the lore and anything to do with 40k, but the tabletop game itself has always been almost overcomplicated. The revamped army building regulations for standard matches, coupled with the innovative combat patrol mode, has massively enhanced the appeal of smaller 40k matches. And given that these rules are now accessible for free online, it's an opportune moment to either initiate your 40k journey, revive a previously archived army, or experiment with a new one. Hopefully this video gave you all a decent understanding of the new edition of 40k, what to expect, and how you could possibly get into it. Again, Combat Patrol is a perfect way to do so. Either way, hopefully it's given you the inspiration to get into this wonderful hobby if you haven't already done so. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Tabletop Alliance.